Merry Christmas, Locked On Illini fans. Have you been naughty or have you been nice?
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to not just another episode, a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy whatever you might be celebrating, even if it's just a day off or if you're listening to this while you're at work. We appreciate you grinding it out on the holiday, special holiday here. This is the first Christmas we're celebrating here at Locked On Illini. My name is Sunny Verma. You can find me at IlliniCast. You can find me at the Sunny V on X. You can find me on all the social medias. Just do a quick search for Locked On Illini. Send me a message. Say hello. Give me some feedback, good or bad. I always love hearing from you. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. If you'd like to give me a free Christmas gift, all I ask for in return is just hit that subscribe button or that like button while we get started here. Again, it's a Christmas episode, so I hope you're all enjoying your time with family. I thought it would be fun to do a little themed show. Just kind of take a step back from basketball season, take a step back from football season, and just talk about all the things that are good and bad when it comes to Illinois athletics. So on Christmas Day, a lot of us have been opening gifts. Our children are opening gifts depending on how nice they've been this year or how naughty they've been this year. And I wanted to kind of step back and take a look at the world of Illinois sports and talk about who we would give extra gifts to and who we would probably hold a couple of gifts back. I know you guys are all tired of hearing just my voice, so I wanted to bring in a special guest for today's episode. And I'm bringing in Cody Delmendo from CHGO Sports. Cody, appreciate you joining me.
Always, man. Was my second or third time here. So thanks for having me on. And I need to get some Illini gear behind me because it's all Cubs behind me for everyone who knows me for Cubs. But I love Illinois, obviously. And I appreciate when you have me on here. And I really enjoy listening to your show, man. So keep up the good work. And I'm happy to be here to talk about the good and the bad, I guess.
And I feel like, we're kind of a period of our lives where there's actually a lot of good when it comes to Illini athletics. And that's not how it's been for a very long time. I mean, you and I both know this, right? We've been Illinois fans for almost a couple decades, at least for me. So it's one of those where I look at the football side and I look at the basketball side, and I can't really complain one way or the other. But okay, so the segment. I'm going to let you start. Do we start with the naughty side or do we start with the nice side?
I mean, I think it just wouldn't be me if I didn't start with the bad, the naughty. I feel like the naughty just like it sums me up. I can be a little cynical. I can be a little pessimistic, but I always want to be optimistic. I think some people think I can be a little delusional, but I can also be a little too far pessimistic. There's never an even ground for me. It's one way or the other.
Let's do it. Let's do naughty. And again, you're the guest. I'll lay it off to you first.
Okay. I did not have this on the bingo card for 2024, and I'm not going to forget this for a while. But Ed Cooley is at the top of my naughty list.
Fantastic one.
Ed Cooley. No one, and you were in my YouTube chat when I was talking about this on my show. Ed Cooley, I don't think anyone is cheering for his downfall harder than me. That's probably not true, but I'm definitely cheering for his downfall for just some comments that he didn't even have to say. And all it does is really justify like the Jaden Epps saga at Illinois and whatever his thoughts are on Brad Underwood and in Illinois' program. Listen, I know Georgetown is actually off to a decent start this year, but they haven't been doing a lot of winning over the last 10 years of my life. And it's a once very, very, very proud program that honestly, unless Ed Cooley turns it around here in the next couple years, I feel better about Illinois' next 5 years than Georgetown's. And I thought Ed Cooley did a really great job at Providence. and then just the whole saga around his, potential of leaving Providence. And not only does he leave Providence at, like, in my opinion, the timing was terrible, and just the transparency behind all of it's honestly a bad look. Not only does he leave Providence, but he goes to, like, their rival and goes to Georgetown, and they were terrible his first year, which, listen, Brad Underwood, Illinois was not good his first year either, but they were bad last year. And then this year, we haven't even got to conference play yet, and he's calling Illinois a bullshit school. I don't know if I can say that on your show, but I just did.
Fair enough.
Like, I'm like, why? Like, I don't know, man. So I was someone who liked Jaden Epps. I really liked him at Illinois the 1 year he was here, and I was hopeful he'd be here for longer. And obviously there was something behind the scenes. I know everyone likes to talk about that clip of Brad yelling at him, but it just doesn't sit well with me when Ed Cooley, of all people, is taking shots at Brad Underwood, when Brad Underwood has coached less at a Power 4 school and has already more success than him. So sounds like someone needs to take a look in the mirror, if you're asking me.
I am jealous. I gave you this idea yesterday about doing a naughty and nice, and I've had 24 hours to think about it, and for some reason Ed Cooley did not cross my mind, but I don't think there's a better answer to this category. I was even going to mention the Missouri head coach from, Sunday, with his complaining and tantruming on the court, but I can't mention another coach at this point. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Those comments on Cooley, from Cooley, really, like, united Illini Nation, and a lot of it was just like, how dare you? And it's like, not even, I mean, at this point that the percentage is getting smaller, but it's not like everyone that is a fan of Illinois likes Brad Underwood. But you're not going to talk about our guy. Like, we know our guy's deficiencies, but we're not going to listen to you from a university that barely wins any basketball games anymore, badmouth our guy. So Cody, great call on that first one. I'm just going to be a little bit more recent in the sense where I feel like I'm just not happy with the officiating for the last two games that I've watched Illinois basketball games. Illinois supposed to be a fun team to watch, with the way we play offense, and somehow surprised everybody. We're one of the best defensive teams in the country. But just whistle after whistle against Tennessee, against Missouri, have been making these games just unbearable. Unwatchable. And I don't like to be that guy that, to blame refs, but, at some point you need to let these kids play. And, the narrative about the refereeing is overshadowing the actual basketball games that are happening on the court. And, it's just been kind of frustrating to me. And so it's like, this is obviously more recent. And so there's that bias. I still have the taste in my mouth now after watching that Missouri game. But for me, it's just, those officials are not going to get any extra gifts from my.
I, too, am not someone who complains about the refs, or I try to not blame the refs. And it's not necessarily that you can blame the refs in this last game because they won. But in my opinion, and maybe yours too, Illinois should have won by double digits yesterday. And if it wasn't for the officiating, Illinois would have won by double digits. And the officiating is the only reason, in my opinion, that and 17 turnovers. But Missouri only scored, 12 points off those turnovers, so they couldn't capitalize off Illinois' mistakes. Illinois had a 10-point lead. They blew it. Sure, I guess I could blame them on it. But in Missouri's comeback, they went to the free throw line off fouls, off like rebounds, like twice, I'm pretty sure. So that's 4 points that they gained back when Illinois was down, or when Illinois was up 10. And again, they were not perfect. It was a very, just like excruciating experience, because you just felt like they were going to do everything to lose that game, and they somehow come out of it. But yeah, it felt like Illinois beat Missouri and the refs on Sunday, and I don't know how any other Illini fan can feel otherwise. So yes, those refs, like I said, I replied to one of the Illini basketball's Twitter accounts. I replied to one of their tweets, and I said, punt the refs into the Mississippi River before you go back to Champaign, because it was just excruciating experience, man.
It's tough because, like, again, you don't want to be that guy because it's a tough job. I certainly could not do it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, sometimes you just feel like the referees have the mindset that the crowd is there to watch them.
Mhm.
And like, maybe this is not the way to go, but I feel like if a game is being physical, that sometimes the referee, like, they need to talk to themselves and adjust.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this game's going to be a little bit more physical. Let's let a little bit more slide here, because now all of a sudden, Illinois has 4 guys with 2 fouls already, halfway through the first half, like what happened against Tennessee. So,
and it wasn't even like necessarily fair either, because Missouri went to the line 37, 38 times. Illinois went to the line 24. Like, is it the biggest difference in the world? No, but I didn't see Mizzou getting called for fouls off rebounds. I mean, I still can't get that Trey White foul out, like the last foul on Trey White, out of my head. Like, that was absolutely atrocious. So
it's atrocious, because that could have won the game right there.
Sure.
We rebound the ball right there. The game is over.
Right.
But
and
instead,
then we were lucky to, that they missed that 3 to send it to overtime. If they would have made that last second 3 to go to overtime, I don't think Illinois would have won the game with 2 guys already fouled out. I mean, Jake Davis was out there in the last minute.
Oh man, yeah. We might get to that a little later.
Yeah.
What else you got next?
I guess this kind of can go with the referees a little bit too, but this is just, it feels like it's, we talk about the things that are for certain in life, and that is death, taxes, and then for Illinois basketball, it is missed free throws or turnovers. And I'm never going to get over it, man. Whether it's you're missing all those free throws against Northwestern, or turning it over 17 times against Mizzou. As much as like I can sit here and say the officiating was terrible in that game against Mizzou, and again, you won the game, so whatever. But if they didn't have 17 turnovers, perhaps even with the bad officiating, they would have won the game by double digits. So in many ways, it comes with the type of game that Brad Underwood wants to play: shoot a lot of threes, play fast, get out in transition, all these things. But I think I've heard a lot of different Illinois creators say this, but it's almost like you see them play really well in stretches, and you're like, wow, we're seeing a peak or a little glimpse of the ceiling. But then you see them go through these stretches. Well, they'll turn it over like 2 or 3 straight possessions. And I love KJ. KJ might be we'll see how the rest of the season goes, but the way that he's playing right now, overall, it's like, man, we could be talking about this guy being an all-time Illinois great if he takes them deep, right? But as far as the talent-wise, he might already be there, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's turned the ball over way too much, and so is the rest of the team. So it's like, and I feel like we're talking about it every year with missed free throws and turnovers. I'm just so sick and tired of it, man. It's the most exhausting thing to experience, because you see the talent on the rosters every single year. Every single year we sit here and we're like, there is a lot of talent here. We're recruiting out of Chicago. We are getting the guys like John Gross and Bruce Weber never used to get. We should be competing for national titles. We should be competing for Big Ten championships, in which we basically are competing for Big Ten championships every year. But man, it could be a lot easier if we're not missing free throws all the time and turning the ball over at a ridiculous rate. So I always feel like it's definitely something that we see a lot in the non-conference. Hopefully they cleaned up in Big Ten play, man.
Yeah, it's funny. Like during the post game for this past Missouri game, I think one of the first things I said is, "Holy cow, we won this game because of our free throw shooting."
I know. Yeah,
we had 22 out of 23, and usually that's never the case. And we needed every single one of those free throws. It was only that miss right at the end of the game that Kylan Boswell had. Otherwise, we were perfect throughout the game. But yeah, it's just one of those, like, it boggles my mind. It's
doesn't make sense.
It's wide open. Like, historically, we have good shooting teams. Illinois is known for their offenses. But when you're wide open from 15 feet and you get to dribble a couple times, apparently that's just been kind of the kryptonite for these fighting Illini.
Yeah.
Okay, the last one I got for us for this one is, this is not necessarily just basketball. This is just the decision makers when it comes to college athletics in general. And again, not to bring the mood down here, but for me, I get the 12-team playoff and all that kind of fun stuff, but I just feel like the essence of college sports that I grew up really just kind of enjoying, and I'm talking about like rivalries. And we saw a good glimpse of what a rivalry means in college sports just on Sunday. Missouri and Illinois, they don't like each other. They've historically not liked each other. And for me, that's always what's kind of separated college athletics from the professional. College to me just seemed more genuine. But the people making these decisions now, the conferences all consolidating, into the Big Two with the SEC and the Big Ten. A lot of these seems like, people are hating on Indiana for not having played anybody, which I understand. But it's like you can't play everybody anymore on the football side because these conferences are so big.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just I had to, get that one in there just because it's something I don't like to bicker about constantly, because if you gave me 5 minutes every single episode to complain about this, I would. Obviously, college sports is following the money like every other sport in existence. Yeah. But, I had to mention that just because it drives me insane.
Yeah. I'm not in on the ins and outs of college football like you are, especially with Illinois. I'm admittedly a very fair weather Illinois football fan. However, these last handful of years, they've made me more interested than I've ever been in my entire life. Mm-hmm. So I give a lot of credit to Brett Bielema for that. But I don't necessarily think that Indiana didn't belong as much as, like, I know they didn't beat anyone. To me, they were in that game with Ohio State, and if their punter just catches the ball to punt the ball right before half, they at least have some sort of momentum going into that third quarter. It felt like when their punter just dropped the ball or whatever it was, maybe, that like they were able to score a couple plays later and all of a sudden they're winning going into halftime after, I felt like Indiana really did everything they could to have the best half of football they could against Ohio State. One bad play leading to getting blown out in the second half probably is not necessarily a good excuse, right?
Yeah.
I think for me, teams need to start putting together tougher non-conference schedules. I really don't know. I feel like Illinois could have maybe made an argument if they didn't lose to Minnesota.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It sucks that we saw blowouts this past weekend. I really thought Tennessee was going to hang around with Ohio State. Yeah. But the good news of that is that, it gives more credibility to the Big Ten, because I'm just so tired of hearing about it's SEC. And, that's the good news from it for me. But I don't know. I don't know. I guess maybe Alabama should have been in there, but it's not like Alabama earned it. You can't lose to Oklahoma, and right. you can't lose
for 3 points.
Right. They did not deserve to be there. So I think there has to be like some sort of middling ground when it comes to this decision making. It can't just be, if you win all your games or whatever, and you can go. You have to play a respectable schedule and beat some respectable teams. Yes, but at the same time, I think strength of schedule matters more than it ever has. So, I don't know. I saw a lot of people that are like, oh, Alabama should have been here. I'm like, that's that Alabama team that lost to Oklahoma. Like, I don't know.
They lost to Tennessee, who just got blasted by Ohio State.
Right. Yeah. If there's any good thing about college football moving forward is that we're starting to see more parity. Yes, this past weekend there were blowouts, but there was more parity in college football this year than I've seen in years. It feels like every single year before this first season of this new era, it always just felt like Ohio State, Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, and then everyone else. And I guess you could throw in Oregon there in recent years too, right? Like this year, outside of Oregon, it's been pretty like anyone can win on any given Saturday, it feels like. So yeah. I think that's good. I think it's good for college football. And in many ways, like college football, like the NCAA, they're probably happy that we're all talking about like, oh, I should have chose different teams because we're talking about college football, right? So, it'll be interesting how they look at this moving forward next year, but we'll see how the rest of these games go. I'm looking forward to the next set of the bracket, because I don't see how Oregon doesn't win the national title at this point, but I'm excited to see if maybe we get a blowout. But also too, like, I've loved the like home environments for these teams.
That's the best part.
That's been the best part.
Yeah,
for
the
sure.
on-campus games. It's great.
So yeah, I don't know if I really, I probably in many ways agree with what you're saying. Like, we're always going to have this conversation. I feel like we've had this conversation for years and years, when it was like just 4 teams. And like before that, when it was just like, oh, the committee would choose who's going to the national title and like all that. Like, we will continue to have this conversation for years to come, because only a certain amount of teams get to go in. I didn't think Alabama deserved to be there. So whatever. Did Indiana deserve to be there? Well, they won a bunch of games. Their one bad loss was, I guess, to Ohio State, in which they did hang around for a half. So whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess ultimately for me, it's just like, if you have to ask, did you deserve to be there? The answer is no. Like, like for me, it's just like with 12 teams, you have the Indianas, the Tennessees, who may have had great seasons, but were clearly not, or should not be rewarded as, national championships. So I guess for me, it's just like, you're creating these extra games for money purposes only, but that they're not going to, necessarily win it all. Okay, so let's change things up. Right after this, we're going to be talking about who's been nice this season. During the holidays, when I think of Christmas, I think of gifts, and don't judge me, but I think of NBA games and attending NBA games live. And if you're interested in attending a game live, look no further than the Game Time app. Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. That means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better, and it's the perfect gift. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. It's got all-in pricing. Toggling this feature allows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views, get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. And of course, the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. All right, Cody, we've talked about who's been naughty, and now it's time to talk about who's been nice. I'll go first this time, and I feel like my everydayers here at Locked On Illini know what I'm going to say, because I commend him at least, I feel like, once a week on the show, and that's Josh Whitman. Again, for me, I feel like the nice side of this episode could go on for an hour, just because of how healthy Illinois athletics is. And I'm not even talking about basketball. Basketball historically, tends to be one of the top programs in the country. But Josh is hiring of Brett Bielema, has turned this football program around to the point where, we're 9-3 and, almost, not quite, but almost in the conversation for a college football playoff spot. And not even that, like, we have one of the most historically bad women's basketball teams. And his recent hiring of Shauna Green has turned that program around to the point, where they made the tournament 2 years ago. They won the WBIT last year. And I just feel like right now, and I'm trying to find some wood to knock on because I don't want to jinx it, but Illinois is just so lucky. And we need to be so grateful for this era of Illini sports. And almost all of it has to do with Josh Whitman.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember when they hired him years ago, and, I remember him, his opening presser talking about, how, I don't remember the exact quote, but you could just tell that he was trying to bring Illinois back to where it was at when it was proud. And when he came in, man, like football was terrible. The basketball program was as low as I've ever seen it in my life. As far as like the two biggest things in Illinois athletics, right? And, you know, over time now we've seen this entire athletic program become as healthy as I've ever seen it. I don't know if we're talking all time, but as far as I've ever seen it, yeah, I mean, definitely something that we shouldn't take for granted. I always preach about not taking Brad Underwood for granted. Josh Whitman is a big reason Brad Underwood is here. So I'm with you on that one, man.
What do you got?
I guess I'll kind of stay with like that type of play. I wrote down Adam Fletcher, who's the strength and conditioning coach for the basketball team. And I think the reason that that he's nice, or that I'm just happy that he is in this program. I mean, when have we ever talked about and I'll continue to knock some wood on this, just knock wood. But like, when have we talked about like a major injury or anything like that? I think he has a big part in that. And just the transformations that we've seen, like the photos they post, the most recent one I saw of KJ, and he hasn't even been here a year. And you've already seen a massive transformation for him body wise. And I just think that he's someone that behind the scenes, if you're a casual Illini fan, you probably don't even know who he is, but you know, the diehards know who he is. And he's just, we need more of him so we can spread them to the rest of the sports that I like, of other teams that I like, because what he has done for the basketball program in as the strength and conditioning coach is something that honestly I probably don't appreciate enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where even when Terence Shannon Jr. transferred to Illinois, like he had history of back troubles back at what was it, Texas Tech that he came from. And so like that was a red flag when it came to Terence, but you know, he got to Champaign and really there was no issues. He stayed pretty healthy throughout his career here. And yeah, I mean, I've got a running meme at this point on all the social medias that every time a player, you know, shows their transformation of 6 months under Fletch, you know, I just say Fletch is a cheat code.
Yeah.
You know, it boggles my mind that some super rich team hasn't just hired him at this point, like, and not even at the college level.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, if you're an NBA team, like this guy obviously understands the human body and what it needs in order to, you know, perform at peak performance when it comes to basketball. And the fact that, you know, he's kind of lingering in Champaign for as long as he has, again, you're right. You know, that's just another thing that Illinois fans need to be super, super grateful for. Yeah. Next up for me is the Illini basketball international scouting department. I mean, finding guys like Kasparas, Tomislav, Ivisic, you know, just from this past season. And of course, you know, we've had other stars in the past from overseas as well. You know, technically Will Riley himself is Canadian. You know, 40% of our starting lineup we had never even heard of, you know, 12 months ago. You know, there were guys just in Europe. And it's something which I've talked about on Locked On Illini. I love that Brad is always so forward thinking. You know, there's a lot of articles that are popping up now, you know, talking about how the emergence of Kasparas and Igor Danim from BYU has led to more college teams scouting the European ranks. Well, guess what? Brad's already been doing that for a couple of seasons now. You know, he saw that it's kind of like a Moneyball type of thing, right? Like he saw that this is where the sport was going, and he just got there first. And we're kind of seeing the fruits of that because, you know, I've talked about it. Like when it comes to, you know, top 10, top 15 recruits domestically, Illinois doesn't have the brand name that a Duke will have, or a Kansas, or a North Carolina. But a kid out, you know, playing for Barcelona, he probably doesn't quite understand the difference between Illinois or Kentucky. You know, to him, it's the states are kind of all the same. So it really is just about the pitch that you make and the relationship you make. But, you know, I mean, Kasparas has a chance to be all Big Ten, if not all American at this point, the way he's playing. You know, if he continues to develop and we develop him into a top 5 NBA pick, guess what? that next star in that Barcelona system, the up and coming player, he's already going to see what we did with Kasparas. And all of a sudden we'll have that in immediately and, hopefully be able to, build that pipeline from, Tomislav also, playing in Croatia, bring those guys in and hopefully, be for international kids what Duke, North Carolina, and Kansas is for the domestic kids.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, like KJ is already putting himself in the conversation, in my opinion, to be talked about among the great Illinis. And he hasn't even played in the Big Ten yet. And it's largely just because we all know he's going to be a one and done at this point. And I'm lucky to work at a media company, and at that media company, there's guys who cover the Bulls, and so they're following mock drafts, they're following the next coming prospects, and one of them told me the other day that KJ is putting himself in top 5 territory in NBA drafts right now, and. Did I expect that coming in this year? No, I thought maybe lottery, top 20, somewhere in that range, first round at least. But, the way he's playing, he's like, it's not like one and dones are known here at Illinois. So this is like a great find for Brad Underwood. It's unfortunate and for my fandom, I guess. But I'm also going, like, once he goes off to the NBA, I'll be cheering for him as hard as anyone, just because he came to Illinois. But what we're watching from him it's insane. And something I'd say I've been preaching a lot on my own show is just appreciate the time you get with him. Same with Tommy as well, so that's
one of those, like I talked about this last week, like Kasparas is having the greatest freshman season that any Illini has ever had.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about, I was watching D Brown, Darren Williams, Kewan Garris was the one who, that's as far back as I go, because early 90s is when I first was old enough, I guess you can say, to start watching basketball. And in that episode, Kewan had similar stats, but Kasparas, like just overall game-wise, I think is clearly better. But it's not just Kasparas, as you mentioned. It's Tomislav too. The fact that we brought in a 21-year-old center who's 7'1", 260 pounds, like. We could have used him on our last year's team, right? Like that's the exact type of big physical presence that we needed. But
dude, I think about, like, man, imagine KJ with Terence Shannon Jr. in transition. Like, oh my God.
Not even that. Like, imagine Coleman Hawkins deciding not to take the bag and staying at Illinois. He would be the perfect 4 on this team. Right now, we're still trying to figure out, that power forward spot between Ben Humrickhouse, but Coleman was, getting destroyed last year because he was going up against guys way bigger than him.
Zach Edey's.
Yeah. And he's a power forward, and we were playing him at center, and it's like, hey, just good luck. If he had Tomislav next to him, he'd be able to balance out what Tommy does and, get his 3-pointers. And I just think he would have been the perfect pick. But again, not that I hate on him. Like Coleman, I love it. Go get your money. He's still obviously a big Illinois fan. Like half his tweets are Illini related. So, I got nothing but love for Coleman. All right, Cody, send us home. Well, what's the last one you got?
I guess for me, the last one is just Brad Underwood. That's it. I don't really know what else to say. I know I put him on my nice because he's become so polarizing, and I just, to this day, I still feel like we don't appreciate enough. We lose to Northwestern, and people are like, things are never going to change here. He's never going to change as a coach. And listen, he's got flaws. Yes, he can be sometimes he has late game coaching decisions that cost Illinois games. But man, like we're going to be running for another Big Ten championship this year. I have no doubt at this point. This Big Ten, I haven't been impressed really. There's only 1 or 2 teams in the Big Ten so far that I've been kind of impressed with. That's Oregon, and I guess Purdue, just because they're Purdue, right? But I feel like Illinois is going to be right up there, top 4, maybe top 2 in the Big Ten again. And we'll be talking about no one having more wins in the Big Ten the last 6 years. By the end of the season, no one will have more Big Ten wins probably than Brad Underwood over the last 6 years. And like, I can't stress it enough. It's a special, special time to be an Illinois basketball fan. We would love more success in March for sure, but you got to get there, and you got to build on your way there, and then hope and execute in those moments. And they did last year, so I'm hoping that we can see that again this year.
Yeah, it's one of those where he's not a perfect coach, right? Yeah. Like we all recognize that. Even his most diehard supporters recognize he's not a perfect coach. But for me, it's like, I don't know if you read Bill Simmons, but he used to have these articles way back in the day where he would rank players, NBA players, and saying, like his power rankings would essentially be, would the guy below him, would you trade for the guy below him in a straight up one-on-one trade? And when it comes to Brad Underwood, I mean, sure, Dan Hurley would probably be number one. Bill Self probably number two. But beyond that, I think all of a sudden you get into the conversation where I don't know if I would trade Brad Underwood for anybody else in the country. Like, I just think he understands this program. And, I referenced this earlier. What I love about him is he's always forward thinking, right? Yeah. Like, he's like, when he came here, he was a press, defense. He saw the game shifting, and he shifted to the point where, we played inside out with Kofi. We played guard dominant with Io and Trent Frazier. I forgot about Trent Frazier. Yeah. And now, we're all out offense last year. And now all of a sudden we're one of the best defenses this year. I just referenced it. The international scouting, he just knows kind of what to look for. And, you have fans of like Michigan State who are, being annoyed by Tom Izzo's reluctance to use the transfer portal.
Yep.
Brad couldn't wait to get in on the transfer portal. And Illinois was one of the first teams to utilize that aspect of the game. But Cody, we're running a little bit long, so I've got to let you go now. But please let the viewers know where they can find you online.
Yeah, so you can follow me on all the socials at Cody_CHGO. I do my Illinois podcast on YouTube as well. It's just you just search my name. It's under my handle. But the podcast, if you want to listen to it on audio, is just from Beyond Champaign. It is a side hustle. It is. I will just admit, it is not as good as Sunny's show here, talking Illinois every single day. I'm trying to just do it after every basketball game. That's all that I'm doing. But it is something that it's just something to get my Illini frustrations or celebrations out, because as someone who covers the Chicago Cubs every day, it's been a tough 5 years doing that, or following baseball. So in the winter, especially as a Chicago sports fan, Illinois has literally been the only good thing in my life the last 5 years. So it's fun to be able to celebrate something every now and then on the old YouTube channel talking Illini basketball. So yeah, if you're into that, come shoot me a subscription or whatever, and join me for pre and post and other conversations related to Illinois basketball.
Now, Cody's being very humble. He's one of my OG friends since I joined this content creator space, and I've always appreciated his support. And definitely, if you're on TikTok, follow him on TikTok too, because I feel like every time I log on that app, he's having some good conversations with folks.
Yeah.
Cody, thanks for coming on. Again, please I'll have links to his shows in my description, and hopefully this won't be the last time Cody comes on Locked On here. But Cody, enjoy your holidays with your friends, family, and we'll see you next time, all right?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Sonny.
The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. I love betting on which players score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. It's thrilling. Not only can you bet on who will win the game, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown or how many points each team will score. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And that's going to wrap it up for this holiday edition of Locked on Illini. Again, I just wanted to, just take a minute and say thank you to all of you guys, my everydayers, whether you're on the audio side, whether you're on the YouTube side. Just know that your continued support has continued to make this channel be one of the fastest growing on the entire network. I'm surprised Locked On took so long in finding an Illini channel, but the fact that they chose me to kickstart it, and now here we are, about 7-8 months later. It's nice to know that they don't regret this decision at all, and it's because of your guys' continued support. So please make sure you follow me on all the social medias. Just do a quick search for Locked on Illini. And join our Discord. The Discord link will be in the description. That's where we basically have free-flowing conversation each and every day. This episode did go a little long, but I hope you guys don't mind. And again, regardless, I hope you guys all enjoy your holiday, and I'll be here every single day creating more and more Illini content for you. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.